This is Jeny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. I have cast on 24 stitches and done 1 by 1 ribbing and 2 by 2 ribbing so that I can show you how to do it for each of those. We're going to knit the first stitch. Before we do the second stitch, we're going to do a yarn over, just a regular yarn over. Bring the yarn back under the needle and purl the stitch. Now we have 3 stitches on the needle. We're going to take the yarn over, off, over the last stitch, and we're going to take the first stitch off, over the last stitch. Now we're going to work the next stitch. To do that, we're going to bind over, yarn over, but we're going to do it backwards. So we're starting with the yarn in back, over the top of the needle to the front. Yarn goes to the back again because we're knitting. What we're doing is adding more yarn to each stitch so that that yarn allows for stretch. Take the yarn over, off, over the first stitch, and take this stitch off over that one, a regular bind off. Whoops. Purl stitch is a normal yarn over. Bring the yarn back around under the needle. So you're going around the needle basically 360 degrees. Work your purl stitch, and both of these are going to come off over the stitch in front. You can do them separately as I did before, or you can do them together. It makes no difference. We have a knit stitch. We yarn over from the back to the front, and 360 degrees we return to the back. So we do our knit stitch. Take both of those, the yarn over and the other stitch, off. Purl stitch, regular yarn over, back to the front, purl. Both of these come off. Knit stitch, backwards yarn over. Purl stitch, forward yarn over. Knit stitch, backwards yarn over. Purl stitch, forwards yarn over. Knit stitch, backwards yarn over. Purl. Okay, now I'm to my 2 by 2 ribbing. For our first stitch, we're going to do the backwards yarn over. I'm splitting a stitch down there. There we go. For the second stitch, we're just going to work the stitch and bind it off as we normally do. So what we're doing is we're working that extra yarn over every time we switch from a knit stitch to a purl stitch or a purl stitch to a knit stitch. So we're switching, we're doing purl stitch next, yarn over, and we have 2 threads to come off, and a regular purl stitch. So there's just one. Knit stitch, purl over backwards, And the second knit stitch of the pair is just worked. Switching to a purl stitch, yarn over, the second purl stitch is just worked. First knit stitch, yarn over backwards, second one just worked. Switching to a purl stitch, yarn over, and our final stitch is also a purl stitch, so we just work it. And we work it in pattern no matter what, because it looks better. Now I can show you from the top what this looks like. So you see here where we had our 1x1 rib that it has this kind of, I don't know, corrugated pattern. And here where we have our 2x2 rib, it's still a corrugated pattern, but it's not as frequent because it was only every other stitch that got the extra yarn, which also means that this isn't going to have quite as much stretch. So there's our 1x1 rib. So 2x2 rib, you see how it's kind of pulling a little bit at the top there? It's not quite as stretchy. It's plenty stretchy, but it's still not quite as stretchy as the 1x1. So Jeny, surprisingly stretchy bind off.